Right, it's your boy Bernard Kerr, and this is my Pivot Cycles prototype downhill bike. A lot of work has gone into this bike so far. I first was on a phone call about it last February, so a year and a half ago. I was in South America at the time, and Kevin from Pivot called me up, and I think Weagle was maybe on the phone. And yeah, a lot of like research and just testing really, whether on the computer or in real life with us. The bike's been around. I started riding it in December in Phoenix last year, and then we got them back out to New Zealand in, I want to say, January, and then Kevin again from Pivot came out. So yeah, basically just a lot of prototyping and testing to make the best downhill bike we can. Yeah, we've done so many testing and timing and this and that, backwards and forwards. I think I've got 15 vlogs saved on my computer, ready to go at some point in the future as we keep going with this from New Zealand. But yeah, 150 odd runs probably before the season. So the bike's running unreal. I just need to ride a little bit better at the races. Parts, right, we are running a 27.5 rear wheel Reynolds rim, as you can see, 29 front. They are rolling on Industry 9 Hydra hubs in the sickest chrome you've pretty much ever seen. Wrapped around those, I've got Continental Crypto towels. I opt for 2 front tires. I just really like the front, so I've got a front on the rear and a front on the front. They're like the super soft compound downhill casing. And we move from that. What powers that? It is a Saint drive system. 10-speed I run on the rear. I think it's 1123 cassette. I don't go for 25 like the others. XTR brakes, 200mm rotors. I've got the new WTV. It's actually a gravel saddle, the Gravelier. I just saw it at Sea Otter. Those guys have sponsored us for so long. They're amazing. We're like, can we try it? And it's just a really small saddle. It's super comfy, and I can keep it low because of how short it is at the back. So yeah, I like the saddle to be out my way, and because of the way they've designed it for gravel racing, I guess, I don't know. It works really good on a downhill bike. Move up, chrome, Crank Brothers, mallet DH clips. Keep going forwards. I've got a 35mm diameter handlebar from Renthal with a 30mm rise, and I run that with a 45mm direct mount stem. On the handlebars, we got white DMR death grips. Brendan's gonna make some more money there, but they are really good grips. Then suspension, we got Fox suspension front and rear, 40 up front, the DHX2 coil on the rear with, I wanna double check this, 475? Is it a 475? Yeah, 475 pound spring on the rear. Yeah, loving the coil. I rode an Air actually last week in Leogang, back on the coil this week in Innsbruck. I run 90 PSI on my fork, I think 5 tokens. The rear, if you ask Barney, he can put the settings down online. I really don't mind sharing them with everyone. Panzer, we run Panzer valves and sealant. They look really cool. And inserts, they've got a new, it's like an aggressive enduro insert. It's a lot lighter than the competition and does the job better. So runs a DW6 kind of linkage system. We had a 4 on the old one. This is a 6. We've got 2 chains, as you can see. Let me spin those for you. You see those? Pretty much the sickest bike ever. The chain guide, we actually, is a new one. That's our 3rd one already, even this season. That one got flown in by the owner of Pivot Cycles, Chris Carlis. Got that made on a Monday and flown to Switzerland with me, hand delivered that to Switzerland for us. So that's a pretty special chain device on this sucker. Right, now I think I have covered everything. It's quite a quick bike check, but that's it.
Hey, I'm Brooke Macdonald, and this is my Mondraker prototype. This is a pretty fresh prototype. We've had it for, yeah, basically just 2 races, so I really can't talk too much about it, but we did spend a lot of time in the off-season working on this. My mechanic, who's also an engineer, designed this bike, and he's done a really good job. It does have a lot of great things about it, a lot of individual changes that you can make on it that doesn't change the overall effect of the bike, just that specific part. Full E13 LG1R wheel set with the Michelin DH22. This is my choice of tyre. Just a all-round good kind of like dry intermediate tyre. Fox 40s up the front, Renthal bar and stem grips, XT brakes with Saint calipers. I just like the Saint because there's a little bit more, I guess, consistency in them. Obviously being a bigger rider, like I feel like I use my back brake a lot harder than majority of people, so hence why I've gone back to these just to get more of a consistent feel out of them. I've still got settings from Leogang. I have 5 spaces, and I think I can't remember what I went to in Leogang, but probably around like 97, 98. So yeah, basically I'll go off for like first 2 runs here to figure out the feeling of the forks and also the shock too. So yeah, basically minor changes. I feel like when you've got a pretty good working bike, you don't have to change a whole heap with the suspension, which is a good thing. So yeah.
Yo, I'm Kade Edwards. This is my downhill race bike, what I just use for whip off. And yeah, it's my race rig. It's set up to go fast. It's a Trek Session, the new one with the high pivot. It's big. It's like a R3, which is an XL. So I have like a custom short rear end just to make it a bit more playful, because before it was feeling a bit dead, kind of. So I have a couple custom bits. Have the new RockShox suspension, that's kind of sick. The old stuff was like a lot thinner, this stuff is a lot more supportive, so it's cool. New BergTech stuff. I always run a dirt jump seat on my bikes, just because I like riding dirt jumps, it's comfy. So it's set up mullet. I've got a small wheel in the back and a big one in the front, 29 and 27. I way prefer this setup, just makes turning easier, and yeah, full 29 is hard to ride for me. I'm not the tallest guy, so yeah. Always big spokes. People are always running smaller spokes, but I run the like 2 gauge, the thickest you can get, because big boy. I'm running higher-rise bars than what I normally would, really. I started going up, like I run the BergTech Ride High 38, so fucking cool. Yeah, the high pivot's definitely good for racing. It takes away some jumping abilities, but we sacrifice that for the going fast and stuff. I've got used to it now, and we've made a couple modifications, like I said, with a shorter rear end. It's not as aggressive, so but it was good for whip off. The length was actually quite nice. A bit more leverage to come back. With the small bike, I feel when I throw the small bike out, it's stopping, you know, like this is kind of like pushing me back, so it's nice. Another thing is I always run push-on grips, ODI. Like a lot of racers put lock-ons, but I always BMX style push-on grips. Yeah, for whip off, I put a harder spring on, like 36 pounds harder or something stupid like that, and then just more air and compression. Turned all the compression on, just for the jumps. But yeah, a little bit stiffer, but apart from that, nothing, and more air in the tires. Got like 45 psi in the tires. Racing, I run like 34 in the back and like 28, 27 in the front.
I'm Dean Lucas. We're here in Innsbruck. This is my 2023 Scott Gambler. Got the alloy frame because Scott has kindly enough made a custom size frame for me. So this is in between a large and XL, so it's a little bit longer in reach. And been racing this at the first couple World Cups so far, and yeah, really liking it. I'm running a mullet at the moment, so 27.5 at the back, 29 at the front. Got Max's tires on. It's been something I've been playing around with a little bit. I've been on 29 front and back for a little bit, and then I kind of change back, and depending on the track will kind of depend on what wheel size I run. We've got Fox suspension, Fox 40s. I'm running about 96 PSI in the front. On the shock, I'm running a 575 spring, running in a linear position just to kind of make that back end hold up a little bit more. I kind of was playing around with progressive or linear, so was in progressive for a while, but I felt like it was kind of sinking too far into the travel, so now running a linear setup, and I'm really liking that. And yeah, all Shimano drivetrain, brakes, ODI grips, and a Syncross cockpit, and yeah, really enjoying it. I'm running the headset a little bit steeper, so it's 1 degree steeper than normal, just with the 27 to kind of balance the bike out. I run it slightly steeper than normal. That's another thing I play around depending on the tracks, but I feel like right now when you're on tracks that aren't as steep, it kind of levels the bike out a little bit more. I have in the past put a little bit of lead in the bottom bracket just to add a bit more weight and keep the center of gravity lower, so that's something I'm playing around with. When it's Mallowood tracks like here at Innsbruck, I don't worry about it. When it's something like a Val de Sol or Fort William where it's flat out and fast, it just feels like it gives the bike a little bit more stability. But besides that, all pretty much stock standard, ready to go. Honestly, I like probably a bit more of a weighted bike. The alloy is slightly heavier than the carbon, but for me personally, I kind of like that more. I think for just how alloy feels better to me in certain ways. Obviously that's really preference based. I did really well with the carbon bike, but with the alloy bike, just certain feel is a little bit different, but kind of preference, kind of how you go. I know a lot of people like the stiffness of a carbon frame more, so it's really just dependent on the person, but I'm really enjoying the bike and the feel of it all, yeah.
I have no idea. So I am kind of just the rider. Nobody tells me anything and I just get to ride it and sort of tell them my feedback and what I feel with the bike. My name's Iles. I ride for Specialized Gravity and this is my prototype Specialized Project Black. So I've been riding this prototype bike for about a year now. Because it's a prototype, I can't really explain what's going on underneath the bag, but everything else is sort of, I would say stock, but more custom to me. So I have a few things on this bike that I particularly love. It sort of comes down to the small details, but I'm running Specialized Cannibal tires. These were new last year. Me and the team with Loic, Jack, and Kevin, my mechanic, worked on this tread pattern as well as getting the compound dialed in. And this is probably my favorite tire. I ride it all around for everything. Ride it in the mud, ride it in the dry, ride it in the dust. It's a really good all-around tire and one of my favorite things. I'm running Magura MT7 brakes. This is the Raceline color. I really like these brakes. They're super powerful. And with what I have up here, I have custom brake levers that are sort of like made for my fingers. It's a lot more comfortable to have that as well as the modulation and sort of changeability that you have with these, whether it's like how far the lever's out, the pad position, everything is adjustable. And then in the front, we have the Öhlins fork. This one is basically the normal fork, but we got custom chrome crowns. So this was special to this bike because you can kind of see across here, I have a lot of chrome accents on the derailleur, on the crowns, on the pedals, on the stickers, everything sort of, it kind of ties everything together. This was something that I asked for in the off season, and I think it just makes the bike look a little bit flashier and it kind of pops in the front. Renthal fat bars, I run my brakes, or my bars at 790. I think it's got a 15 mil rise. I run 26 PSI in the back, 24 in the front, and then my fork settings change sort of with the track that I'm riding. So here, because the ground is so hard and there's a lot of big holes, I'm gonna be running that gives me a little bit more feedback. And also the fact that it's flat, I'm gonna have to have something that carries a lot of speed. And then I'm running the Crank Brothers mallet pedals. It's kind of a staple. These pedals have been good for a really long time. So I ride the mullet because, well, honestly, I haven't tried a full 29er. I rode one full 29er downhill bike about 5 years ago. And then we went to mullet and I never really looked back. I find that the front wheel gives you the grip that you want, and then the back wheel allows you to be a little bit more playful and actually gives you a better feeling from the ground. It's kind of the standard nowadays. It seems like everybody's running mullet, but in my eyes, it's definitely sort of the best of both worlds.